Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles, where today, Genic 2398 here in the Centurion Action 10 is going to be having a difficult time, to put it mildly. Here in this Tier 10 battle, obviously it's a Tier 10 tank, although there are several Tier 9s present on the Prokhorovka map. I've always liked the Prokhorovka map. Not just because, it's a good map. It is a good map, but also just the idea of the Prokhorovka map, because it's based on a famous tank battle that occurred during World War II in 1943 during the Battle of Kursk, here at Prokhorovka. But what I love most about the Battle of Prokhorovka were the inflated claims made by both sides. I mean, seriously, they were claiming so many kills on ground targets you'd think that the battle was being run by Air Force fighter bomber pilots. Oh yes, we knocked out 300 enemy tanks. You idiot, there were only 40 there. Shut up. Don't come around here with your facts, Sonny Jim. Speaking of facts, who wants to have a game of let's see if we can spot a real tank? World of Tanks at Tier 10. What are you talking about, Jingles? Genic's driving a Centurion. Yeah, but it's the Action 10, isn't it? I mean, it depends how you define real tank. Yes, technically, the Centurion Action 10 was a real tank. I mean, the Centurion was a real tank. It was a very, very good and successful tank. But the Action 10 turret, which is what we have here and what makes this an Action 10, only existed in prototype form. I think, at most, there were only ever 2 of them. Well, what about the Super Conqueror at the top of Genic's team list? I've seen photographs of that. It must be a real tank. Well, again, it depends how you define the words that you're using, doesn't it? Was it real? Yes, it was absolutely real. Was it a tank? Well, only if you expand the definition of tank to include firing range targets, because that's what all of the extra armour was for. So, yeah, you take your time, have a good browse along the team lists, both teams, and you let me know when you spot something that was an actual real tank. Take your time, we've got all day. Just don't hold your breath. I wouldn't want anybody to hurt themselves. What the hell was the Gorilla 15 doing in the middle of the map there? Because, yes, I mean, basically, at best, 2, maybe 3 of the tanks present in this battle existed as prototypes. The rest were maybe in blueprints and possibly in design proposals. But, I mean, a design proposal isn't a tank, is it? I mean, you give me a piece of paper, a pencil, and 5 minutes, and I'll give you a design proposal. But yeah, welcome to World of Tanks at Tier 10, where you can spend hours fruitlessly playing Spot the Real Tank, a game for all the family. Just, don't expect to get much of a score. Not that having a whole bunch of made-up tanks is necessarily a bad thing. I mean, everybody likes to play What If. If it wasn't for What If, we wouldn't have the mouse, and that's been in the game since day one. Again, if we didn't have What If, we wouldn't have had machines like the Bobject up there that just got absolutely bitch-slapped into the middle of next week. And the loss of that Object 264 over here was definitely not good news for Genic or his team, because it was easily the strongest of the 4 of them who were over here on the hill, and their best chance at resisting any kind of concerted push from the hordes of enemy tanks that are up here. So Genic's team only have 3 survivors, including himself over here on the hill on the east. They're facing at least 7 enemies, and they only have 3 tanks over on the road to the west. One of whom is a Waffenträger Panzer IV, who seems to be labouring under the delusion that he's a scout, but hey, at least he's taken the initiative, unfortunately, like any scout that pushes that far forward and supported. He's probably going to come to a sticky end, and sure enough, there he goes. The problem with all of those tanks in the middle is that it's all well and good telling them, look, you have the numbers advantage, push forward, but if they push forward without at least one of the flanks, and preferably the hill here where the majority of the enemy team are, they're just going to be advancing into a crossfire, and they're going to get their flanks shot up, because there are 7 enemy tanks up here waiting for them to do precisely that. And we probably shouldn't be expecting any heroics from all of those friendly tanks in the middle of the field, because there's a single Char Future 4 holding them back from pushing over that ridge. And sure, if they were to push over the ridge, they would take some flanking fire from this lot up here, but only for a couple of seconds, the length of time it would take them to get over the ridge and into the dead ground on the opposite side of the embankment, where all of them would only have to deal with a single Char Future 4. The problem is they're all looking at each other and saying, go on then, you're the curious one, you first. And they're not moving. To be fair, it is fire from those tanks in the middle of the field that's been whittling down the numbers of enemy tanks up here. But the enemy tanks up here still horribly outnumber Genic and his single surviving teammate, although they are about to be joined at long last. Look at the map. There's an Object 777 that's been sitting in the top right corner of the map this entire game, doing what? I have no idea, but he's only now advancing to a position where he might actually be some use to the team alive. Even with the arrival of the Object 777, there are still going to be way more enemies than friendlies up here on the hill. However, Genic's team do appear to have the health advantage, although not by much. And it's here where Genic realises that going over the top is going to be suicide, but going around, if he sticks to the low ground here, where he can't be shot at from the middle, he might be able to do something useful and break this stalemate. He needs to be careful though. The enemy team have a lot of autoloaders on the hill. Oh, and some artillery as well. Good shot. Not enough, of course. Can we finish off the M53? What if it's just going to sit there? Yes. One artillery down isn't going to break this stalemate though. How about two artillery down? Naturally, 105mm armour piercing fails to penetrate the front of a Russian artillery. The Russian artillery shotguns him from a range of 300 metres and does more than 300 damage. Because of course it does. Anyway, two artillery dead. There's a medal right there. So, two artillery dead as the team are now 2 kills up, but nailing two artillery isn't going to break the stalemate on the hill. And despite those 2 kills, the enemy team have actually managed to narrow the health difference. The thing is, when players think they're in danger of being outflanked, they do tend to make bad decisions and mistakes. The thing is, what you're about to see happen isn't necessarily a mistake on behalf of the enemy team. I mean, they absolutely definitely do need to kill him, he's a massive thorn in their side, it's just that their execution is utter dog shit, as Genic gets charged by not 1, not 2, but 3 enemy autoloaders. Genic's execution is textbook. You go for the tanks that you can kill. Nail the ones on lowest health, because then they can't shoot back at you. And in the blink of an eye, he's gone from fighting 3 autoloaders at the same time by himself to the one surviving autoloader fighting 2 of them at the same time, thanks to the arrival of the Object 777. The Progetto wants him dead though, and he can do it. Nope, he's fucked it up. I mean, seriously, 3 autoloaders against a Centurion. A Centurion that barely had more than 1100 health. All 3 of the autoloaders are dead, and the Centurion is still alive. Technically. I mean, his fuel tank's ready to burst into flames as soon as somebody so much as looks at it, and he only has 62 health left, but hey, that's 61 more than he needs, but... But how do you fuck that up? I mean, it's 3 on 1. And you're all dead. And Genic isn't. Serious. Genuine question. I mean, I'm not just taking the piss here. Well, I am. I'm taking the piss as well. But I genuinely want to know, how do you fuck that up? I don't know. Genic isn't out of the woods yet, though. And neither are his team, despite the fact that, thanks to that monstrous clusterfuck of a manoeuvre on the hill, the enemy team are 5 kills down. There's only 4 of them left, but the 4 of them, amongst them, have almost as much health as the 9 survivors on Genic's team. So, I mean, they've got the gun and the firepower advantage, but with all of them on such low health, they can lose that advantage, well, as quickly as the enemy team just did. Genic's trying to do the old proximity spot thing here. I mean, on the bright side, the Centurion Action 10, it does have a good turret. The rest of the armour is serviceable at best, but it does have a good turret and it has good gun depression. So by poking the railway embankment here and trying to spot, there's the UDES 1516, he doesn't actually need to get line of sight to him, he just needs to be within 50 metres. Proximity detection. Going to keep this guy spotted. And he's been counter-spotted as well, of course, but nobody can shoot at him because the railway embankment's in the way. So, 1 down, 3 to go. And at least one of them is putting up a fight. But, ooh, yeah, they got him. That just leaves the 60 TP and the Gorilla 50. Janek takes a bit of a risk. Didn't get spotted coming over the ridgeline, which has to mean that the two surviving enemy tanks are both down in that bottom corner of the map. Otherwise, one of them would have seen him. He may get spotted here going over the ridge, but only for a second, and it would only be fatal if somebody had the gun pointing in this direction, because he could get into the dead ground on the other side, but he's not going to take the chance. He's done enough heroics for one day. Unlike the enemy 60 TP over there, yep, typical top tier heavy tank hiding at the back of the map, in the bushes, behind the tank destroyers. Note that, I mean, there's 3,700 damage done here, and Janek hasn't fired a single round of gold. I mean, he's got some gold, he just hasn't used any of it. The Gorilla 15's down. There's still 1,400 hit points worth of Polish top-tier heavy tank to farm damage on, though. There he is. And Janek improved on 3,700 damage done. Oh, it looked like he scored a hit, but his damage counter didn't increase, so no, I guess not. He's just going to have to settle for 3,700 damage and a top gun. I'm sure he's not going to be too disappointed with that result. That's a ace tanker. Is that Pascucci's medal, I think, for killing all of the artillery on the enemy team, and the top gun for 6 kills. And of course, nobody's going to be too surprised to see him finishing very comfortably on top of the team on base experience earned, due not just to his 3,700 damage of his own, but also 3,000 spotting damage. No real surprises there, but of course the one thing that surprised everybody, not just Janek, but also the 3 tanks that thought they had him, was, well, you all know what I'm talking about. Something that is probably not going to come as a great surprise to many of you, however, is that even though he did not fire a single round of gold ammunition during the entire course of that battle, even though he got a top gun, even though he got nearly 7,000 combined damage done, if he hadn't been running a premium account, he would have lost nearly 20,000 credits on the result of that battle. But hey, he is putting money into Wargaming's pockets, so they very generously allowed him to make a minuscule profit of not even 4,000 credits off the back of that Herculean achievement. So I guess it's all good. Hope you all enjoyed it. Congratulations to Janek, that was a pretty spectacular fight in the middle of the battle. Pleasure to watch, and as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.